let's go ahead and pull up one of our other teams here. It's Back4Morb. This is being coached by Osmium. That looks like they're on Screaming Bell. Are Morb jokes? Is that still in? I actually don't know. I feel like I'm not in touch with
It's
the youth enough.
yeah, it's a weird mixture too because it has like Back for Blood, but then also Morb in there. So
Yeah.
it's I don't even really know what to make of that. But it's it's a mood, it's a style. Um, so
It's a mood.
Ah, yes, the
also,
youth speak.
I saw a Twitch comment, someone saying BioShift it will feed off of new players. That's exactly what I said. Yep, of course. You know.
Off their
Anyways.
suffering, right? Like that's so some of that lovely psychic vampirism right there that we all know and love from Bioshift.
I know,
So
who's like one of the nicest guys, but anyways.
Maybe it's
But
a bit
so
of different
okay.
things where he'll be like, "Oh, they're suffering," and so then he'll absorb that. He's like, "Yes, I'll feed off your tears," but then he's like, "Look how proud of you I am because you cleared that room."
Yeah, so Bio, I feel like he'd do it in a really chill manner too, you know. He'd be like, oh well, I'm here, I'm ready to feed off your tears, guys. Just excuse my horrible accent, but anyways. So this team is going on to C1. So a little bit easier than, well, actually quite a lot easier than C3. The health values are a lot lower than C3. The special cap is lower by 1, and the special timers, I believe, are a little bit more friendly as well. The big thing about going between C1 and C3, and there's a question often thrown in here: what about C2? I know it's listed; it doesn't exist. Okay, no one plays it. But anyways,
It
so
does.
but with C1 and C3, I think the biggest thing that players feel is breakpoints, right? Those health values really, really matter. So, for instance, here you just noticed Merc Handgun actually body shot both of those pack masters. On C3, running like say even Chaos Infantry, you don't even headshot pack masters with one shot. So it's big differences in the health there that make it probably a lot easier to deal with specials on C1. Another big one as well is they have a Battle Wizard. That Battle Wizard is on Bolt Staff. Bolt Staff can hit literally like almost every elite and special breakpoint in the game on C1 without too much of a care in the world. And on top of that, get the Black Rat and Mauler breakpoint as well, which is like really insane. That's quite a powerful bolt. Whereas in C3 you don't see that. You see some trade offs. But anyways, looks like they've gone into trigger here in order to get up the Battle Wizard. Got a Storm Fiend in the pig pen. They're probably not going to go in the next area yet, and they're probably going to try and delete the Storm Fiend before moving on. But let's see what their boss strategies are. Now, I mean, we'll probably hear about it from Osmium when he gets roped in here if he wants to. But I actually have interacted with some of these players before, and I think a lot of them are excited to take on the challenge and have really, really good mentality and in a good fun mindset. So, um,
I'm just having a private chuckle about sentences that might not have been said before. They've got a storm feed in the pig pen, folks. Oh,
how to
I
get in
mean,
there
you've
again?
heard of like
Oh, shucks.
there's like a fox in the chicken coop. Well, now we have a storm fiend in the
yeah.
pig pen.
Grandpappy grabs the musket, goes to get it out of there. Can't have it in the pig pen. Really, actually, good question here, and I think I'll throw this one to you as well, Long, before we get Osmium in here to chat about the team. Um, Aside from raw numbers, how big is the spike in difficulty between Vanilla Kata and C1 Dwans?
Pretty big. I think the biggest difficulty increase is actually the Death Wish part, which
Mhm.
is not what most people think of. Most people are like, well, it's more enemies, it's more bosses. Like that's got to be what's harder, right? The events that are crazy. And yes, it is. But in my opinion, what really makes it a lot more challenging than Official Realm is the Death Wish part. Because when there's no Death Wish, you can get away with a lot. You can be a fire sword stuck in the corner, bashing like 20 storm vermin in the corner and they can't touch you at all. You can't do that on Death Wish, right? If you try and fire sword a storm vermin, it's still going to attack you. It doesn't get staggered at all. These it really means that space is suddenly become a massive, invaluable resource. Um, and you have to exchange space, when you take on fights and when you reposition and things like that. It's kind of like a currency that you use. Whereas in without Death Wish, you can always create space. And in Death Wish, it's much harder to do that. It's more of a resource that's spent rather than a resource that is created during the fight, at least. Uh,
Right. I mean, I think that makes sense, and I think that would, you know, just as a perspective of someone who hasn't made that leap yet, that I think would be the most challenging thing for me, or the thing that I would be most worried about overall. But I think we're gonna get Osmium in here in just a moment, so we can get them online and we can have them just kind of give us a rundown of what their team is about and what they've been looking at here. And yeah, it's worth pointing out. I mean, even though it is just C1, right? And the lowest tier of difficulty, like we've been saying, I mean, it's a big jump, and there's a lot of learning that has to go into this process. So it's something that the players themselves are gonna want to. It's not just because it's the lowest difficulty level doesn't mean it's not extremely hard, I guess, is what I'm getting at. And I think you guys can just see, you viewers, from the way that this has been going here on Screaming Bell, which I think is one of the maps that people are pretty comfortable with, right? This has been a challenge and a half. I mean, that last fight with the Storm Fiend was some risky business right there, and the fact that they were able to power their way through it and keep this going, I think, is impressive in and of itself. But I must say, I love the fact that you can still be a body shot bandit at this difficulty level. I fear for a difficulty level where you cannot be a body shot bandit, because some of us specialize in that. But speaking of specializing, we've got one of our expert coaches in here now. Welcome, Osmium. Happy to have you in the chat here.
I don't know about expert, more like trained baboon, but I try my best.
Hey, train. That's impressive. You get a baboon train. That ain't easy. Those guys are vicious. But thank you so much for joining us. We're really looking forward to having you and talk about your team. I appreciate it. I saw you in the Twitch chat saying that you were so proud of them for getting through that last moment. That's great. That's the kind of love that we want to see. So I guess to start off, let's get. I guess, can we get your background, Osmium? What have you? What's your experience here with the difficulties and Fight the Tide, just to establish some credibility? Though I don't think we need to.
So I'm actually pretty new, so maybe this was a bad question to ask me.
No, no, there are
I
no such things.
yeah, I did C1 Dwans in the last Captain series, and I've basically
Okay,
just been like no life grinding this game ever since. Um, I've
that's
had a
great.
lot of, I've had a lot of, basically I've just been continuously coached by BioShift and Royale with Cheese, with the various iterations of my four-man group. And then when I heard the new Captain series was coming on, I really wanted to basically, you know, I've had a lot of help. A lot of people have been very enthusiastic, helping me get better, and I just really wanted to, do that to a new group.
That might be one of my
Fair.
absolute favorite things about Vermintide, because way back when in my Vermintide 1 days, I struggled with some things, and the people who were in the V2 community were in V1, and kind of like the same thing. They saw me playing a whole lot. They saw me, trying to figure out how to get deeper in the game, and they were only ever enthusiastic, like you said, to help me learn that. So I feel like that is just a common denominator with every player who's in like the modded realm.
Yeah, people are so nice, so great.
People are so nice. And I mean, you've been, don't sell yourself short here. You've been studying at the feet of masters. So, you've got the chops, as it were. So tell me a little bit about your team, right? Is this were these guys all individuals, or did they kind of know each other? What difficulty level did they kind of start out at?
I've been very impressed with these guys. So
Oh
M
no.
and M and Jester. Oh, this is getting tough.
Okay, it scared me for a bit there. My heart. It's
They're
still
pulling it back.
going.
They're pulling it back.
Okay,
Faith,
okay.
faith.
Sorry,
M,
sorry,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Please go on. Please go on.
M and Jester knew each other beforehand, and they signed up together. But Xantolf and Reese are solo signups, and yeah. Oh, every single person is new to Dwans. I believe Jester. He's played the game since release. I believe he dabbled in modded a long time ago, but that was a long time ago. I believe he's a bounty hunter main as well, coming into this from official.
Savage.
So I
Absolutely
kind of
savage.
so I kind of took the approach. I basically said to everyone, so my goal is I want these people to be able to go into the modded community and play with anyone and them to not feel like they're griefing the team by playing with them. And so to that end I said, all right, you can pick one career that you're really comfy on, but I'm going to make you learn another one. And I pushed them towards meta choices for those, which is why this is a very meta looking comp basically. And I've been shocked how fast everyone has picked stuff up, especially like Jester. I think prior to this, he said he had like 20 hours of Witch Hunter before this event.
Oh wow.
He's really solid with it.
But getting him learning the correct character, wink wink,
Yes.
on the
Also,
correct weapon,
the correct
wink, wink.
weapon.
Very critically. So
Another thing is I also didn't force them to use the meta weapons. I kind of just told them what was best. And Reese really in particular shocked me with how fast he picked up the halberd. In one game of the pit, I said, look, you don't have to. The halberd's really hard. You can do it if you want, but I will not think less of you for not.
Uh-oh.
He says, like, yeah, I'll just try it out. And over the course of a single 40-minute game, I saw him go from like fudging all the combos to like actually looking pretty competent with it.
Awesome. All right, that's what we like to hear. You know, it's a challenge, right? I mean, the way we talked about it, it's really difficult to pick it back up. So, I mean, it's nice to hear that you've kind of taken these people who are not super experienced at this difficulty level and sort of brought them up to speed or helped them get up to speed. Um, did you find that it was a lot of kind of like, I guess the quote unquote basics of playing at this, level of difficulty, or was it kind of more explaining, I guess, intensive issues like specialized issues? Where was the meat and potatoes of a lot of the coaching that had to be done?
So pretty early on, I actually didn't have a PC for the first part of this, so I actually just watched their gameplay for the first couple days. But the first time I got actually in the server, what I did was I basically took them into Convocation of Decay, the famous gauntlet room at the very start, and I explained conceptually what frontlining is and how you can do a good job at it. Um, Mechanic stuff I sort of drip fed them over the course of the entire event, but I think teaching them conceptually about how to not have this right here happen, being backed into a corner with no space.
I mean, they're holding it.
yeah, there's a pat there too. Like they have some excuses. They've got some excuses.
I think laying down the conceptual framework of you want to hold ground. The front line doesn't form itself. You have to position yourself to keep things in front of you. I think that did a huge benefit in helping them from that point on. I got a little pushback from Bio. He told me, "Oh, they're just C1 players. They just need to learn how to not get overheaded." But the questions that I was asked after
That's
giving that
exactly what
frontline,
Bio would say.
the questions they were asking were so good. They were asking me great questions about frontlining. Like, for instance, Jester, who plays Grail Knight, was okay. So I've noticed when I pull out the Xe sword, I kind of have to like move back to back dodge. How can I pull out the Xe sword without giving up space? Which, like, I don't know, that gave me warm fuzzies hearing a question like that from a experienced Dwan's player.
Well, there you go. I mean, to be fair, avoiding overheads, man, that's been a theme. So we saw a massively brutal series of overheads on our last map. So yeah, you gotta keep them in the frame. As
Yeah.
Okay, the other big lesson I gave was how tracking works, which is how to avoid overheads. Dodge
There you
early
go.
and dodge often. So
Dodge early and dodge often. That's some good generalized advice. I think that's one that I appreciate. Uh, as for any level of difficulty. But just on the same kind of like a theme, I guess. What did you find? Was there something here that you felt was like a particularly big challenge? I mean, our coach that we had in earlier, Altieri, right? He was talking about the idea of kind of establishing a team composition and getting people in roles where they were comfortable and building the comp. What's something that you, I think, outside of these basics, which are, dodge frequently, dodge often, what was like the biggest challenge you sort of faced overall with the team, with the kind of specific characters they were playing, that sort of thing?
I think a big one. Um, this is this is one that's kind of hard to teach, because I can tell them this. I can tell them this as many times as I want, but it's hard to practice this because it doesn't come up all the time. It's resource usage, whether that's ults or potions or bombs, basically.
Mhm.
Um, there is always the thing of like just constantly press F. That's pretty basic, but like potion usage and bomb usage, uh, not using items too late. Basically, use the items before the disaster occurs, not after. Um, because I can explain this to everyone and they can understand, but it's one of those things that you just have to get a feel for from playing the game a lot. And while I'm coaching, I try to watch their POVs and basically point out after something happened and say, Xantolf, that would have been a really good time to troll hammer, or
Right.
Jester, you had a speed potion there that you didn't use, stuff like that.
Fair,
That's one
fair.
of
I mean,
those.
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say that's one of those like RPG pitfalls, right? Where you're like, I have 10,000 healing potions and invisibility potion, like after the fact. So with that, did you maybe say, all right, we're going to prioritize somebody to do a particular task? Like I think the last captain said that they prioritized the witch hunter captain to use what's it called? Proxy for the Grail
Mhm.
Knight. So did you
Uh,
do any prioritization like that?
I touched on it, but I didn't dive super deeply into that. Like for instance, on the pit event, like the pub spot where you just stand up there and DPS them as they like jump into the into the thing.
Yeah.
I did make it a point to point out, if Grail Knight is up there just swinging his sword nonstop, you don't want him to stop swinging his sword ever. So if you have someone like Sister of the Thorn, it would be ideal for Sister of the Thorn to proxy a strength to ideally Grail Knight, but really it could be any of the frontliners in that scenario. I touched on that a little, but that wasn't something I went super deep on.
Oh, fair. I mean, it's probably getting into issues that become more pertinent, right? Like micromanagement issues, I guess, that become more pertinent as difficulty levels progress. And kind of where they're coming into this, where you talked about your players and retraining, like retraining Jester on Witch Hunter Captain and getting comfortable with that. Was there anybody who just came into this with just like some real great sort of natural strengths that you wanted to capitalize on?
Oh man, Jester is like built different in one respect. Uh, he has inhuman, uncanny ability to avoid damage. Like a lot of people, including myself, had to really like train to do like timed dodges and timed blocks instead of just kind of like haphazardly spamming the key. But pretty much day one, I noticed like this guy just doesn't get overheaded. He he times every block, he times every dodge, and uh yeah, it's really crazy to see him. I think he's honestly even better than me at that, to be honest. Um,
Oh, wow.
now his headshots and he is very lazy with weapon combos though. uh,
Okay, okay.
but
Well,
yeah, I put it this way: I would rather never die than have come in with good weapon combos. So
Fair. He's seeing the code. He's surviving. And I mean, at the end of the day, right? Like being able to survive, like you said, that's the thing. That's the most important thing, right? You can't kill if you're dead. So, something to keep in mind right there.
Well, on the opposite end of that, who was somebody that maybe had a lot of growing or had the most growth, I guess?
I would probably go for M. So I don't want to say like M was like terrible when we first came in, but she was somewhat green to backlining in particular. And the difference in her battle wizard and her two careers that she came in with were remember, she came from official realm, so she was playing official realm battle wizard, which can just do everything. Well, it wasn't a Koru wizard, thank God. Um, and then Sister of the Thorn was the career that she picked up. The difference in play from day one to today is mind blowing to me. I would not have imagined that a player could come that far so quickly. In all honesty,
Fair. I mean, yeah, it's definitely like you said, picking it up and taking it from the sort of stando, uh, the standard kind of vanilla battle wizard into this is a challenge indeed. Did you find when you were building out these team compositions that you sort of had players who were just okay with the set roles, or did anybody have to make like a pretty significant role shift?
um, like I said, when I was making the I started with what do you guys like to play, and then
Okay.
after that I tried to make it so that each player had one that they liked and then one that they were new to. So in that scenario, at that see, it's kind of a manipulation tactic because I'm like, all right, I gave you something you like, now do something for me. So
Fair.
uh, that's how I got them to play meta, basically.
All
Actually,
right.
day one, Jester trolled me really hard. The first thing he said to me was, like, this was the first minute of meeting me. He's like, "Yeah, so how do you feel about Bounty Hunter Natural Bond?" And I was like, "Oh,
Oh Jesus.
ugh."
Yeah, we can design a comp around that. Copium.
We'll see.
Innovation. Innovation. That's what that is. You're
True.
on the cutting edge.
Yeah, I mean, we all know that Nat Bond has a very, very high ceiling, very high rite of passage. It's just not tapped into, unfortunately.
I can only imagine. I don't. I feel like I don't know enough to even like get the in jokes, but yeah. I think that's a hell of that's a hell of a thing to work on. So you were, chalking your way through the pool here, Osmium. What map was posing, I guess, like the most significant challenge for these players? Like what one were you guys, I know you said you started on the kind of Convoke Gauntlet. Did Convoke remain kind of the hell map, or was there another that sort of supplanted it?
So my idea with coaching this team was I didn't want the emphasis of difficulty to be on the maps. I wanted to get people. My goal was at the end of this, I want people to really understand frontlining and backlining, and I want people to be competent on careers that other players will want to play with them with. In other words, people will see Jester doing LFG and they'll say, "Oh, yeah, Jester, he's a good witch hunter. I'll play with him," and not, "Ooh, Jester, he's the bounty hunter guy." And
He's the bounty
Although
hunter guy.
I will emphasize that we don't really exclude, right? Like if someone wants to play like like JC for instance, right? He is the bounty
oh, I
hunter
love
guy.
JC. Yeah.
Right, and we all love JC. He's got a great attitude. He's fun to play with. He's really good at bounty hunter. I've seen no one solo delete bosses with the same consistency as JC actually. Like we're just like it doesn't matter what difficulty, doesn't matter the situation. He's just like, give me a pot, let me go to the corner, you guys just fight the horde, and then
Oh
he
yeah,
just deals with it.
I
But
hope that they branch out after this event, but just as a starting thing, I wanted to
oh,
give them that.
totally, totally. I was just basically justifying that
Oh yeah, yeah,
exactly
yeah.
what you just said. So,
With
but
so as for the maps, I've assigned them maps from tier 1 and tier 2, which is so they did Screaming Bell, Pit, Fort, and what was the last one? Not Empire. I'm blanking on it. But anyway, they got Into the Nest was it. If I think they're pretty comfortable on 3 of them, but the
Okay.
Pit is a struggle.
Mhm.
And I'm not entirely sure why, because that always struck me. I never really had issues with that one, but
Different strokes for different folks, right? I don't know. The first time I
yeah.
remember when I first played the pit on like regular sort of difficulties, I always thought that map was incredibly challenging. But I mean, years down the road, right? Like I feel a lot more comfortable with it, but I can see that being slightly intimidating. If I picked it up in C1 Dwans, I would probably be like, oh boy,
Oh,
this
the start is
gonna be a day.
absolutely the beaches of Normandy, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you go into this event and you don't know how the event works at all, and you just try to do it as if it were like official realm, you'll probably get demolished. Like, even if you're a really strong player coming from official. So it's
let's see what they're doing here.
yeah. So they're doing. I mean, feel free if you would like to explain instead, Osmium, because it is your team. But I was just gonna jump in.
All right,
They're
so they
doing a
should
strat
stop in
here. Oh,
front
go
line
ahead.
here.
They
Should stop in front line. Here they
Oh,
are.
interesting. All right, all right. Oh, to cover the top chainer.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the idea is you don't want to run up here and get pinched. So you want to hold them at that spot for a few seconds while the top chainer hits the chains.
Very good, very good. But in general, they're doing the chains in order and moving, kiting as a team, so that these
Yes.
big waves they can hold them off while people are hitting the
Ooh.
chains. The event doesn't spawn the bosses until you break the last chain, so they'll probably just look to stabilize here and clear the initial beaches of Normandy as you described it, and then once they're stabilized, did you teach them to ledge the bosses or to kill the bosses?
Look at the comp. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I just wanted to see, how adventurous they were. Sometimes the team's like, no, I don't like ledging. Ledging feels like cheesing. I want to
M
fight the boss, right?
M has gotten pretty good at ledging them both with one burnout. Let's see if she
Oh,
can do that.
really nice. Okay, well, let's see.
No
Um,
pressure though. No pressure from the
well,
coach.
so commentators curse, right? So we have to say the opposite. Like, oh, M's not even running burnout right now. They
Yeah,
forgot to equip it,
impossible.
right?
Impossible. Can't be done. Never
It's
seen it
it's a,
happen.
exactly. It's never been done before in the history of modded.
Well, we'll
In
get
the
it back here. I mean,
history
here
of
it comes.
Vermintide.
There's one. All right, good enough. Good
Here we
enough
go.
for government work. Can we get the second one? Oh, it's a that. That's it.
Oh, maybe.
Wow.
That's it.
The
17
impossible. Look at
seconds.
that. The impossible's been done.
Yeah. You left it on you put it out there, you laid it down, and they backed it up. So well done, Em. Good
She
stuff.
did it
right
with
there.
Volans
Very good
too.
work. Yeah.
Amazing.
We've seen
Amazing.
some crazy post boss nonsense though, because not necessarily this map, but like Enchanter's Lair, we saw Nurgloth get like just dunked, and then they ended up getting swarmed in the escape route. So I wonder what's gonna happen here.
Yeah, I mean that's
I think they're gonna go slow and steady here, but oh, okay.
No, full
the
speed.
immediate drop after you say that.
Yeah, no brakes on this train. They just ledged the two bosses. It's time to go. Like, and
So
again,
actually, I have a question. I might have told them a lie, but I don't actually know. I just realized this might not be true on C3 Dwans.
Okay.
Are there scripted special and elite spawns at the end of this like run?
Only
'Cause
on
I
Plus.
okay, never mind. Well, anyway, they think
There
they're scripted spawns, so
Okay, yeah, there's some scripted ambience, I think, and when you aggro those ambience, they feel like a scripted wave. Don't quote me on it. If I'm wrong, someone please correct me. But like you're guaranteed to get some Skaven ambience in the first section and guaranteed to get some chaos ambience. You can walk on here?
oh yeah,
Yeah,
Cheese
right?
showed us that nugget.
Learning something every
That-
time.
That
Damn.
is
All right.
That's the solo
Even
you're
Log
bum
is
rushing to
learning?
the end.
I've never seen that. Like, that's useful. I'm gonna use that. Anyways, but yeah, you're guaranteed a little bit of chaos ambience here at the end. But other than that, I think the specials are normal. However, on Onslaught Plus, I don't know if any of the teams are doing Onslaught Plus today, or in the future, but Onslaught Plus, if you try and go in this area without having completely finished the event, and I mean like basically completely, it'll legitimately spawn like 12 assassins. So good luck trying to speedrun.
Oh my.
Brutal.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's brutal. Terrified by the basic concept right there, but a good run from the team. Did you like what you saw there? I know that you were proud of them for salvaging that earlier, but how would you put that in the pantheon of runs this team has delivered under your coaching?
Oh my god, I cannot describe how happy I was seeing that Storm Fiend thing because I saw that and I was like, oh my god, they're all completely fucking dead. and
No,
I
not
am
so.
I'm so that because that's such a stressful position to be in. You get there's a bad revive, you get the revive. There's ambience everywhere. Everyone almost dies immediately, and then they kept composure and actually won it. That's great.
Yeah, I think that looked like a good solid run. Everybody's into the cookie clicker that popped up there for a second. Uh, it's been very popular on the stream right now. But yeah, no, I mean it looked like a great run. It looked like you've coached them well, obviously, because I felt like they handled that pretty good. And indeed, like you said, the bit there where it did get kind of hairy, a good kind of response from the team and keeping it together. So they're jumping into, I believe it was Braxton Brooker right now, as we get another just tantalizing flash of the cookie clicker right there.
I gotta click.
I gotta know. Anyway,
AFK farming over here.
AFK farming indeed. Hey, you got to it's multitasking. This is a multitasking world, so you gotta maximize your opportunities. So Fort Braxton Booker up on the deck here. How's this one for them? I feel like this is one of the maps that a lot of people feel super mega duper comfortable with. So is that kind of the case here with this team as well?
Let's see. The only thing they don't like is when they get a bile troll that they can't ledge.
Fair. Fair. I think we haven't actually seen any of the chaos bosses yet. I think today we saw storm fiends and we've seen rat ogres, but we have yet to see a bile troll or a chaos spawn, or God forbid a minotaur. No, beastmen are disabled. Not going to happen. And then we're all very happy for that. But yeah, so maybe we'll see a bile troll. That would be unfortunate if that's what they feared most. If that was the first thing that they got, they were the first team to encounter one. But we'll see. So just looking, I guess, like ahead here with this team, are you relatively comfortable you're going to be seeing these guys around again? You feel like you've put them on the right track here?
Yeah. It is again my goal going into this was to make
Mhm.
sure I want with this Captain Series event. I think first and foremost, everyone should have a good time, and I think it's important that everyone. I try to make it a social event where I try
Right.
to introduce people to as many people as possible because, I mean, all of us here know that Vermintide 2 and Dwan's game mode is really fun, right?
Yes.
So I think the way that you get people to stay is get them to introduce them to a lot of people and make friends.
There we
And
go.
yeah, I think you'll be seeing these guys around basically.
Great. I gotta ask, handgun ranger veteran. I'm seeing it there. Was that is that one that you guys have walked through? How do you what's the thought behind that?
Oh, is that a controversial pick? I didn't
I
realize
don't
that.
know. I see it coming up in the chat, and I was like, I don't think that's controversial, but I wanted to know. I worried I was out of the loop there, but I'm glad to hear that it's not.
Yeah, it's so in this comp here, okay, so this comp is built around the end event. The
Okay.
objective is Xantolf is running Scavenger. Um, he will at some point in the map acquire a concentration potion. He will hold on to that until the end event, and he will just invisible do the cannons the whole time while everyone else kites around, basically.
Wow,
Ah,
Scav RV on C1. That is a
Excited for
really
this,
creative
man.
strat. All right.
So,
Oh, or you could just find a conch pot in the first 10 seconds of the map, like they just did. So.
in my opinion, Masterwork Pistol is pretty difficult to sustain ammo on with Scavenger. And so my thought process is if you don't need the boss damage, if your comp doesn't need the RV for that, then I see no problem with running crossbow or handgun. So,
okay.
yeah, I think it offers a lot of advantages in terms of not requiring a ton of ammo.
Yeah, fair. I mean, you did mention earlier one of the things you specifically were kind of concerned about, or wanted to make sure that was well drilled, was the idea of resource usage and resource conservation. And I mean, ammunition is part of that, right? Like it's a key resource for the team to manage, especially when you've got, two sort of shooty characters in here who need that ammunition resource. So a well handled group of chaos chaos warriors right there. No trouble at all. I guess I'll ask you because we've got to get some. I want to get some other teams on here, but I mean it's been a wonderful conversation with you, and I appreciate your attitude of helping these new players fit into the community. But I guess I'll ask you our question that we've been asking all our coaches, which it just is from from your perspective, what's a good thing to focus on to improve as a new player, as a veteran player? Like, where does the process start in your mind? What's the first thing you want to focus on?
Hmm.
Put your coaching hat on. You gotta and just
That's
pull
a
it
very
down tight.
that's a
I
very
assure you, there's
general
no Jeopardy
question.
music playing in the background right now.
That's a very general question, and I think the answer is very individual for a lot of people.
That's a good
Different
answer.
people need different things. So, like for example, Jester came into this event with a precognitive like ability to dodge stuff. Um, M came in here with like absolutely perfect target priority, in terms of backlining, just shooting the things that need to die. Absolutely. But she couldn't really generate temp HP very much, and Jester was, you know, not doing great with his weapon combos. And so, the biggest, so not in terms of any individual skill, because everyone needs something different, but also in terms of mindset, I feel like people also have different deficiencies.
Yeah.
But so to give you an answer, basically, I think a very common thing in FPS games and FPS adjacent games like Vermintide is a lot of people want to attribute their failures to mechanics and more specifically aim. People say, like in a game like Counter Strike or Team Fortress or something, people say I lost that engagement because I didn't aim well. I'll just headshot him next time. But I think that's one of the most destructive and common mindsets in a lot of games, and I think it's a very big obstacle to improvement.
Hmm.
There's a lot of players out there a lot of top players, who play like the Dutch difficulties, who, in all honesty, don't really have that good aim. I don't think this game demands
It does.
extremely high level mechanics. And so I think if people just let go of that mindset in particular and really start thinking about all the other things that you can do to optimize gameplay, I think a lot of people will get a lot of mileage from that.
Fair. I mean, I
Yeah, I mean,
appreciate that it's an open-ended question, by the way, and I appreciate that you gave us a good, I think, a pretty good answer, which is sort of tailing to individual, like, needs. That's super important, and obviously, like you said, working on the mechanics. But sorry, I cut somebody off right there. I didn't mean to do that. So,
oh,
if it
no
was you,
worries.
Ishka, go ahead and hop on in.
No, that was a long.
Lock,
Yeah, no
okay,
worries.
Lock, you hop in.
So I just I wanted to comment on the last thing that Osmium said because that was very interesting. So I'm one of those players who comes from an unhealthy amount of FPS games. Playing like way too much Overwatch for my mental sanity,
Oof,
and
been there.
I think that's a really good point to make, and not just for this game, but just in general. Is like when you have good aim, it lets you play worse, right? It lets you get away
Yes.
with something that you weren't really supposed to win, or or was something that was perfectly fair, and the only thing that separated it was mechanically you over the other player in like a 1v1, or in this game it was like you held a really bad position, but because you counted all your Flen stacks perfectly, you managed to get out of it, or something like something silly or
Yeah.
stupid like that. And I totally agree that it can be inhibiting to your learning because if you aren't in a situation where you lose because you made a poor choice, or was like lost very definitively, maybe you just barely lost, it's very easy to think that just, oh, well, a little bit of mechanics would have gotten you out of there. And you're probably not wrong when you say that. It's just not the right route of improvement, because you get so
Yes.
much more bang for your buck by focusing on, positioning better and, having better target priority, all these things, right? I mean, when people, and in this game especially, when people talk about like how do some of those players do so much damage, well, as someone who's been obsessed with doing tons of damage in this game, it really mostly isn't mechanics. It's mostly never blocking, to be honest, and micro positioning, right? And if you can do those things well, you'll set yourself up to do damage, even if your actual mechanical execution on top of that is lacking. So
Oh,
um,
what a moment right there on the screen, by the way. Poor Kruber,
so
he's
yeah, I
going for the
just
cog potion and he gets grabbed mid-drink.
It would
but
touch
What?
his lips.
he saved the potion though,
He did. He did.
That's what I'm
That,
That,
talking about, though. Item usage. Use it before you need it.
well, I mean,
the,
Packmaster's like, not now. Hold on.
No.
Well, you need it later.
he's like, no drinking. Kruber, please, you're an alcoholic. We're saving you
I
from
do wanna-
yourself.
I do want to say, Long, I think that is such a good way of phrasing that. That aim can bail you out of things that you should not have won, and people just view that as like the normal.
Yeah.
It like warps your thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It's very true. I
wanted-
mean, in a different lifestyle, I'm sorry, Ishka. In a different lifetime, I coached semi-pro Overwatch, and it was always the idea that you would rather have a player who was good with game sense and had worse mechanics than you would a player who had great mechanics but just had like no, game sense, game knowledge or whatever. Because mechanics are something you can train, right? You can put somebody in aim trainer, you can have them play the game, and that will get better over time. But game knowledge and is just opens up a whole world of opportunities. So just to echo that sentiment, I think it is so important.
Yeah, man, the Overwatch players, they know.
Clearly.
Well, I wanted.
No,
I wanted
it's
to
it's
jump
it's
in.
Osmium's. It was Osmium's point originally. I'm not trying to steal that. I just think it's a really good point, and I wanted to
It is.
emphasize it. So, yeah.
Go ahead, though, Iska. Sorry, we're
Uh,
we're preventing you from
No, no,
sharing
no.
your also very valid thoughts here.
No, I was.
So
I'm just
anyway,
saying-
I was just about
Oh
to. No, I'm just
my
kidding.
God! No. I come from before Vermintide or anything like that. I come from like Dota or StarCraft. And for me, it's a lot of positioning of your particular units according to the environment and the enemies that you have, and then resource management too. And I'm also, in terms of like Dota or League, I am a support player. So I'm always pulling myself that much further out from the rest of the team, and like, where are we? Who do we who do we have? What are those skills available? What are those items available? And how does that work in the team itself? My aim is horrible no matter what. Like, I am a body shot master for sure with a handgun. And so that's probably another reason why I'm such a heavy support. It's just like, hey, what can I do to ensure that you can be successful too?
That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, it's how it goes. But we've got some other teams that we want to show here today. Osmium, it's been great having you on the stream. Been enjoying you talking us through Back4Morb and their talents here in the process of growth. And as always, we appreciate you participating in all of this and joining us here on the desk today. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me,
Yeah,
guys.
thank you.
Yeah,
well,
thank you.
We're gonna transition over here to Pestilence's team. They're playing through, I believe, Righteous Stand at the moment, but we're gonna leave Back4Morb behind here as they go through Fort Braxenbrooke.